War Eagle guys, welcome back to Strictly Auburn. I'm Jake Lazarus here with Eli Lingo and special guest Vince Wolfram. Vince, how we doing? Welcome to Strictly Auburn.
What's going on, fellas? It's good to be on. Glad to see you boys. I'm ready to talk the talk. Let's do it.
Dude, we're happy to have you. It's awesome. Eli, fun game last week against Mississippi State. I know all three of us were there. That place was finally fun. We finally got to see a win, Auburn's first SEC win of 2023. Felt like years in the making, but I don't know, a win's a win. How'd you guys feel last Saturday? Eli, I'll start with you.
Yeah, I mean, it felt good to actually win in the SEC game, so that was fun to watch. Defense played good. Offense, looked a lot decent in the first half, kind of slowed down a little bit in the second half. But, I mean, we played good enough. Peyton Thorne broke the streak of throwing over 100 yards, so that's great. But other than that, we did pretty well.
Vince, what'd you think last Saturday?
Yeah, it was good to finally see us handle a little bit of business, especially in the first half. Offensively, it was nice to, hear some touchdown chants from the band. That was pretty cool to hear because at this point in the season, that's been pretty rare. But glad we got off to a fast start. That was a good thing that I was looking for, and we did that, running and passing. I know Hugh said he wanted to finish. He wanted the next game to be like the last drive of the Ole Miss game, where we were throwing the ball, sort of getting active on the edges, and we did exactly that for the majority of the game and held on in the second half. So it's a good precursor to what's to come, I hope.
So I think a lot of Auburn fans had the same takeaway from the Mississippi State game, and that was the first half was a completely different looking team than what we saw in the second half. We saw Auburn play lights out in the first half, right? 2 touchdowns in the first 2 drives. Peyton Thorne played amazing. I think he broke that streak of not throwing for 100 yards, like in the first half alone. So, Vince, in your eyes, what changed from the first half to the second half? Obviously, conservative play calling, but mentally, what do you think changed from half one to half number 2?
Yeah, I think it was 2 things. It was, like you said, sort of conservative play calling, and obviously the first half, Hugh, I think, wanted to test Peyton a little bit, have him sling it. And he was doing it in the first half, and he was doing it well, doing it at a high level. Offensive line was giving him a little bit of clock, too, which was nice. We hadn't seen that a lot. And then second, I would obviously say it's a position we haven't been in much this year other than UMass and Samford, where we're winning after halftime by a marginally good amount. And I think in a way we felt like we had to contain versus like we had to maintain versus keep going. Which I think was a little bit of a mistake on our end. I think we should have kept the foot on the gas pedal. But like I said, a win's a win. You take what you did in the first half and work off that, and sort of build on the second half and what you can do to change it. So that's what I would say.
Eli, we've been doing Strictly Auburn since, last year, and I think we've had the same thoughts about this Auburn team. Play, one, quarterback. And last Saturday, finally, for the first time, and I don't even know how long, we saw one guy. What do you think the benefit of playing Peyton Thorne for 4 quarters of football, how do you think that benefits the locker room, the coaching staff, the offensive line, running backs, and everyone?
Yeah, I mean, like you just said, I think it literally benefits from us as fans, as students, to the players in the locker room, to everybody, because you allow Peyton to go into the game. During practice, he knows he's QB1. He knows he's going to play the majority of the game. So in the back of his head, he's not worrying about Robbie Ashford breathing down his neck, dying to come in, and that gives a little bit more stability for a quarterback like Peyton Thorne to focus on the defense rather than Robbie Ashford, or maybe focusing on if he messes up, he's pulled from the game. So that gives him more stability, to focus and play well, and he did that. So.
I kind of have a thought, and I'm curious to know what you guys think about this. I wasn't totally convinced that it was Peyton's game from the start, He came out, drove down, scored a touchdown on the opening drive. If, in another universe, that drive didn't end in a touchdown and had stalled out in the red zone, do you think Robbie Ashford would have came in on the next series like we've seen throughout this season? Or do you think going into the game, Peyton knew this is my game, and if I don't perform, Robbie's game is in Vanderbilt? Like, I'm just curious. Vince, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think obviously coming in, if you're Peyton, you have to feel, like Eli said, I'm very confident Robbie was probably toting the line all week in practice. And I think it was obvious that Peyton had to have had a good week in practice for him to come out and be the first guy and play an entire drive. Because, like, we haven't seen that, really. We've seen Robbie come in and run a couple times on the first drive, second drive, third drive, maybe even command a second or third drive. But the fact that Peyton did what he was supposed to do on that first drive, I did think probably gave Hugh a little fire under him to be like, all right, let's try to keep this ball rolling. He's throwing the ball, which we haven't seen. He was running the ball. We were running the ball well. Our offensive line came out, and they were being stout. So, yeah, I mean, sure, I think the pressure for Peyton is always going to be there as long as Robbie's behind him. But last week he came out on such a fast start that it was kind of his game to lose if Robbie was going to come in. So that's, I guess, what I would say.
So I guess, Eli, one more thing before we head on and take a look at Vanderbilt. But we saw some stuff on social media, specifically on Robbie Ashford's social media, following the Mississippi State game. Some of it's a little weird, some of it's just character, and some of it is just interesting. What were your thoughts when you saw what he was posting on Instagram after not playing for just one game? And is that something that you're going to keep an eye on moving forward, or do you just kind of move past it as a fan?
I mean, as a fan, I think you definitely should maybe keep an eye on it if it's worth it to you. I think he's being a little cryptic with what the future holds for Robbie Ashford. I think, you know, with him, he wants to be the guy somewhere, and obviously I don't think he's the guy here, as you can see from last Saturday. So maybe he's looking at transfer portal options. I don't know. I don't talk to Robbie Ashford every day. So maybe he's thinking about it. I don't know. He's posting little cryptic stuff on Instagram to maybe try to get some stuff, you know, in motion. I don't know what he's doing, but if it's worth it to you, maybe keep your eye on it. I personally could care less. Whoever's going to give us the better chance to win is who I'm going to go with. So
I like that. Yeah, I'm going to obviously Strictly Auburn, keep us open on Twitter. We'll give y'all updates, but I don't know. Robbie's going to keep doing Robbie, and hopefully he's a good teammate and going to be a good backup or a good starter or a good wide receiver or a good tight end or a good running back or however he can help this team win. Let's hope he's good at it. Let's take a look at Vanderbilt moving forward. So Auburn looks for back-to-back SEC wins for the first time since 2021 under Brian Harsin. All right, so Auburn, Vanderbilt, how are we feeling heading into Nashville? Smallest crowd that Auburn's faced since 1980 against TCU with the stadium reconstruction. Vince, I know you'll be in attendance. Give me one thing you're keeping an eye out for this Vanderbilt team against Auburn.
Consistency is, I guess, the word that I'm going to use here, because last week, like we were saying earlier, the first half and the second half, they were older brother and little brother. They weren't twins. And I think in this case, something you want to see from Auburn is consistency. It's not something we've seen all year. We haven't been consistent on offense, whether that be Robbie or Peyton, whether that be Jarquez or other running backs, Damari and those guys. We haven't seen consistency really from them all year, even receivers. Defense has been really our only consistent thing. I think that sort of keeps up, especially with a Vanderbilt offense that I feel confident that Auburn will be able to stop. But for me, it's all eyes on the offense, seeing what Peyton does, what sort of shot Robbie gets, run game, pass game, red zone. You never quite can guess with that. But if Peyton's balling, Peyton should be in the game, in my opinion. And if not, it's Robbie's ball game to take. So seeing what they do, if the offensive line can hold up, get Jarquez some holes, let him work, so we can see Jarquez hurdle a couple more people, because I know I was lit when he did that last week. So, I mean, I would say offense and staying consistent, showing us that last drive Ole Miss and first half Mississippi State. Keep doing that. We're going to be balling.
Eli, I know you're a defense first guy, right? DJ James and you guys are boys, obviously. One thing that Vanderbilt does have is a true freshman who's, on the depth chart at least, is lined up to start. Again, that's subject to change, but again, as we record Thursday afternoon, he's allotted to start. Walter Taylor, an Alabama guy. What does this Auburn defense have to do to step up to attack him? And if Ken Seals sees the field, how do we stop them?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing I think this defense can do, which they've been doing all year, is force turnovers. If we put pressure on Taylor, he's known to give up the ball a couple of times this season. I think he gave that up a couple of times last week as well. So if we just force turnovers and make him make unprepared decisions on the offense, then we should be able to win this football game. And, guys like Keontae Scott, who's been absolutely balling out since he's been back. Austin Keys is back here too, having a great back end of the season. Jalen Simpson obviously doing his thing. So if all those guys can play well together and just force turnovers and put some pressure on the quarterback, we should be fine.
And I'm hoping the Auburn Jungle, or I guess it's still the Jungle in football, hoping the
Home
Auburn
game.
family home game. That's, you know what I'm getting to. I'm hoping we travel up there pretty well. A small stadium, just over 28,000 and change. Vince, you'll be there. You'll keep an eye out for us, right? Keep the Auburn fans in check.
Yeah. I'll keep them loud for sure. That's my job. While being
your job as a
unbiased
journalist.
completely. Yes. While being completely
There we go.
100,000% unbiased. You watch.
For sure.
There we go. Love that. Auburn family, if you're heading up to Vanderbilt, for the tens of people that listen to Strictly Auburn, be loud, wear blue and orange, rep it proud. I don't think Vanderbilt's going to show out very tough, so Auburn family, why not? Do you guys have anything else to add about Auburn against Vanderbilt moving forward into this Saturday?
Shout out my boy Marcus Harris. Hopefully that dude keeps eating. He's on the defensive line representing Auburn and the whole United States because that brother is balling. He is the king of the D-line. So I just want to keep my dude in the news, man. He deserves a spot at the next level, in my opinion. So keep on balling, Marcus.
I agree. He's a dude who will definitely see at the next level. I think him, Donovan Kaufman, Keontae Scott, DJ James, Nehemiah Pritchett, Jalen Simpson. I mean, this defense, we will see them all playing on Sundays next year or in the next 2 years or however many years they're here. And Connor Liu, just another name to shout out. True freshman, started at center over the injured Avery Jones this past week. Co-offensive lineman of the week. Hell yeah. Let's go, Connor. Hopefully that play continues against Vanderbilt. But it's time to look outside the SEC. It's time to look at the rest of the country.
Woo-hoo.
Let's do some pick'em. Let's start out on the West Coast. Because the West Coast, why not? Number 5, Washington, at number 20, USC, and Caleb Williams looking for redemption this week. Vince, I'm going to start with you because USC fell to your Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Who do you got in this one?
I'm going to flip up my pick from the pregame. I'm going to Washington. I think USC last week, we saw California when Auburn played them in week 2, a 50-49 game after losing to Notre Dame and Utah. So a couple close games for USC against good teams, battling teams. To go against a team like Washington right now after 3 back-to-back high-scoring weeks, where one of them you came out on top. I think it's Michael Penix's game to lose. Obviously, I think Caleb Williams is good, and he's hard to bet against and to plan for too as a Washington defense. But Washington's proven they could beat the best. They beat Oregon, who I think is good enough to be a playoff team, with Bo, who's a potential Heisman candidate, along with Penix and Williams. So I think it'll be the quarterbacks duking it out. But at the end of the day, I think it's Washington by a slim margin.
Eli, are you rocking with the big Penix energy, or are you sticking with Caleb Williams?
Dude, pause. I don't know. So,
I got
that
you.
Just that threw me off. I'm gonna have to go with Mr. Caleb Williams. He's playing like on another level that I haven't seen in a long time. But like Penix, he's having a hell of a year too. So like Vince said, it's gonna be a duel of the quarterbacks. So I think maybe Caleb Williams takes it out, pulls his team together, and they take the dub.
I got to rock number 20 USC. I'm a big Caleb Williams guy. Best player in college football. One of the best prospects since like Andrew Luck. So got to rock with number 20 USC. Let's go to Vince. Your game of the week. Number 15 Notre Dame at the Clemson Tigers in the fake Death Valley. Vince, I'll let you give us some in-depth Notre Dame info.
Audric Estime. That dude is, in my opinion, the best running back in the country. Last week against Pitt, which Notre Dame dominated against Pitt. He had 19 carries for 114 yards and 3 touchdowns. Yes, you heard it, 3 whole touchdowns, more than Auburn scored all year. That was a joke. You guys can laugh. Notre Dame, I think, goes and handles business. Clemson obviously has been struggling. It's not a typical Clemson team that we're used to seeing. Obviously, I think Dabo will coach them to be a great team in the end. But this week, Notre Dame, after the Louisville win, it has sort of flipped a switch, in my opinion, and they've got a fire lit under them, and I think we'll see that on Saturday in Death Valley. So I'm going with the Irish.
Eli, you sticking with Vince's pick, or are you going to flip up and pick the Tigers?
Watch yourself.
Yeah, nah. Clemson's basically just, a worse version of Auburn, so I'm going to have to go with Notre Dame.
Whoa.
Bro, have you seen? Their whole university is copied off of us, which is kind of crazy.
Their campus is controls.
Oh, I thought you were talking football.
Shoot, I mean, I don't know. I'll take Auburn the next couple of years rather than Clemson, but that's a hot take. But regards to this game, I think Notre Dame's they have one of the best passing defenses in all of the college football, and I think
we'll see what Strictly Auburn Twitter has to say about that. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. I think Cade Klubnik right now is he's a little bit mistake prone, so I think the pass defense gets to him. So I'm gonna have to go with Vince Wolfram's Fighting Irish.
I like that pick. I'm also taking Notre Dame. I just can't pick Clemson, especially after what Dabo said. If you guys haven't seen that 5-minute rant to a fan, it's one of the most epic rants I've ever seen in sports. Go check that out. That's worth it. Let's flip to some SEC action. We got probably 2 of the biggest games of the season in SEC land. Let's start with number 14 LSU taking on number 8 Alabama. This is a huge game. I mean, this is an LSU team that beat Alabama a year ago on one of the craziest 2-point conversions with no time left on the clock that I've ever seen. It's one of the craziest endings. I know you guys both love that environment, the Tuscaloosa crazy fans. Eli, I'll start this one with you. Who do you got winning this one?
So yeah, I think it's going to be just offense on offense. Both these teams have really, really high-powered offenses, but I think LSU takes the dub. I think it's going to be Jaden Daniels, putting in the work with him, and I just don't think Alabama's defense is strong enough to stop them. They took the dub last year, and in Alabama they're used to the Bama fans and all the noise. They're used to all of that, so it's nothing they've never seen before. So I think LSU's offense is powerful enough to overtake Bama.
Vince, what do you got?
I think this is a tough one. This is one that'll make you go, oh, brother. I'm pretty sure, though, I've seen LSU's offense in person, and they are scary. I will say that. And I think Malik's tough, McDaniels, and or is it Daniels or McDaniels? He's tough. That dude can ball, and they've got receivers that can do the same. Yes. Is it McDaniels or Daniels?
Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, Jade Daniels.
Daniels. I was about to say Daniels.
I was like, ooh.
He's tough. That dude can ball, and I think he's going to give some people some problems. But at the same time, I think Alabama, they sort of clicked into what we're used to seeing from them. I think their quarterback throws a Barbie football. Like, that thing is pretty when he's hucking it across the field. I think Milroe's a guy, a force to be reckoned with. And Alabama's defense is Alabama's defense, and we've seen it throughout the year. They've kept teams low scoring. So I think like I said, I think it's just going to be a toss-up. Honestly, I think whoever gets the ball last will win. But in this case, it's in T-Town. I got to go with Saban. I got to go with the Tide in this one. Never trust Brian Kelly to win the big game. That's how I'll leave that one.
From the Notre Dame fan, I get it. I got to take Alabama, though. I've said it time and time again on Strictly Auburn. I just can't bet against Nick Saban. I can't pick against him. I just can't. So for that reason, I'm rocking with the Tide. Time for the big game for the Georgia Bulldogs, though. They're taking on the Mizzou Tigers at home. In Athens. Is this a trap game for Georgia? Is this their toughest test of the year before a potential SEC championship game, Eli?
I think it is. I think, the way Missouri's playing right now is on caliber with how they were playing in 2013. I think they're really, really high-powered offense. Brady Cooks is slinging it, and, their defense is doing their thing. One of the guys I know on their team, Chris Drain, is arguably one of the best cornerbacks in the whole nation. his draft stock is just through the roof right now, and he's playing on a different level than anybody else on the field. So I think, combine that with Luther Burden, they're all standout wide receiver who's having a hell of a season. I think they give Georgia a run for their money. It's a really hard for me to pick Missouri to win this one. I think it would have to come down to, some last minute crazy field goal. Missouri did that earlier this year. I'm gonna have to take Missouri, dude. I think there's something in the air. There's something in the air with this game. I think Missouri takes this one. The other Tigers in the SEC. Let's go Missouri.
Ooh, doggy.
Dang, you're going Tiger in the last 2 picks.
Mm-hmm.
Vince, are you sticking with that same trend, or are the Bulldogs too much?
I think Carson Beck's making a hater a believer. I think
Ah.
he's showing people what he's made of. I didn't think it at the time of when Auburn played Georgia, but I mean the 43-20 win over Florida last week, throwing for 389 yards and 4 tutties against Kentucky. He's 300 plus yards in the last 2 games. Plus, I think Georgia's young guys on their defensive line are also making it happen. Just holding Florida to, I think it was 300 total yards of offense for a Florida team that's offensively prone. I think Georgia's similar to Alabama. Obviously everyone thinks they're going to be number 1 and start off hot and cruise all year. They've had their tests, they've had their battles, and even without Bowers, I think Carson Beck makes some noise. But also, I think this one will be a close one, maybe a 2-score game. But I got Georgia coming out on top.
I don't know about the close one, guys. I'm rocking with UGA. I think this is their nail in the coffin. I'm the number 1 team in the country heading into the SEC championship because they don't really have much of a test before then when they would take on a potential LSU or an Alabama. So this is Georgia for me without really a doubt. And this is when they cement their number 1 CFP positioning for the rest of the season. Now it's time for the game that we're all here for, the game that we're interested in as Auburn Tigers, obviously Strictly Auburn. We're all Auburn fans. Let's go. War Damn Eagle. Auburn at Vanderbilt. Haven't played there since 2016. Auburn won then. Will Auburn win this Saturday? Eli, some quick words. Does Auburn come out with the dub?
Of course, I think Auburn comes out with a dub. I think it's going to be a lot to a little. Jarquez Hunter's been having a hell of a 2 games this past couple of games. He's running, he's actually running the ball these past couple of games, so that's exciting to see. Damari Alston's back. Our defense is healthy again. I got the Auburn Tigers, of course, guys.
Vince?
I got the Tigers as well. I think if the sky's blue, Auburn's going to win. So that means 2 o'clock game, the sky will be blue, and I think Auburn will come out on top. We do what we have to do. Hold Vanderbilt's offense and on defense do what we've done all year. As long as offense we don't make any stupid decisions, I think if we just play our game, do our thing, and do that last drive of Ole Miss in the first half of Mississippi State again, I think we're going to have the ball rolling, engine on, gasoline pumping, baby.
Woo. I agree. Got to rock with the Auburn Tigers. I think we go back-to-back SEC wins for the first time since 2021. I think Vanderbilt remains the only winless team in the SEC this season, extending their winless streak to 8 straight SEC competitions. War Damn Eagle. I got Auburn.
That's brutal.
Thank you, Vince, for joining us this week. Really appreciate it. I love it. Love having you on. You're always a good time. Love the jokes. As always, give us a follow on Twitter at Strictly Auburn, and go listen to us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. Drop a like, comment, subscribe on Eagle Eye TV, and let us know if we should do Twitter Spaces. And with basketball season coming up, Eli and Connor, we all want to do that, talk some basketball. I know Vince Media wants to, so Vince, shout out whichever you got.
Yes, sir. Big talk episode coming tomorrow. We got my boy Trevon Reed on there. Make sure you like, subscribe. Check me out on Instagram at Vince Wolfram, on Twitter at Vince Wolfram 15. And subscribe to these boys, man. These boys work hard. You already know the deal. Strictly Auburn on everything.
Let's go.
Yes,
War
sir.
Eagle.
War Eagle.
War Eagle.